Hi, welcome back to Mechanic Garage. Back on with the Skoda 16 valve. There's been a little bit of progress with things. As you see, if you've seen the last video, I got the stereo and everything in. That was just something I needed to do to get me sorted out anyway. And since that, I've had a quick dig underneath yesterday, got the new throttle cable on, which works fine. I'll show you that I had to modify the throttle pedal slightly because the travel on the carburetor isn't as much as the travel on the throttle pedal. So you can either put a load of slack in it, which I had before, was horrible, or you can adjust it and put a stopper on the back, so it's about 20mm short, which I've done. It works fine. The old throttle cable I've reused as a choke cable because these carburetors have got a return spring on them, which allows it to be a normal cable rather than a push-pull wire, which is what it had before, because the original one, it was a lever that didn't have a spring on. Because you've got a spring in it, it's sprung loaded, it pulls itself back now. So then it routed a little bit neater as well. Got the cables through here and down back. The throttle cable's perfect now. It flicks back onto the stop all the time. Right, I'll just take you underneath and have a look. The balance pipe between this pipe here and the matching one over there, that one there, I managed to get it off, and then I broke the plastic T-piece for the fuel. It doesn't matter massively because I've got to replace it and put it over this side because it was too much going on here. In the process of that, I've managed to spring a leak in two hoses. They've just gone aged and perished. This top one here, which was leaking slightly before, is now dripping a lot, and this one here has decided that it didn't want to be moved and started pouring fluid out. So I'm going to have to replace those. Yeah, to be fair, they are the original pipe work, and I was pushing it a bit with the age of them, but it's not the cheapest thing in the world by the time you've bought probably about 5 or 6 meters of the stuff, probably more. Probably get it on for 10 by the time you get through with the heater. But I often thought if they blow under pressure, then it's game over for all the water and the heater and everything. So the plan was today I was going to get the suspension arms on and get some raised springs and shocks and everything, but if I do that, it makes this a lot more awkward to do. But then again, I need to do something, so I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to get the wiring for the crank sensor sorted out. I did replace it, and off the ground. As I said before, it's losing the signal. I don't know why, but then I did find these wires in the throttle position sensor were loose. So if this isn't showing a signal that the throttles are being used, the ECU is not going to be happy about altering the fuel and things like that, altering the ignition side of things. I wouldn't have thought it'd have done what it did, but I'm going to plug the laptop in and I can read this signal and make sure it is working. Because if not, I can get a new switch. Not the cheapest thing in the world. The bills are starting to add up on this already. And I thought I'd spent everything I needed to spend. I actually made the mistake of telling Mrs. how much I'd spent on it so far. And it was a rough estimate, including buying it and running it for 3 years and building it. Yeah, I could have bought a nice car for that. Having said that, I won't be as much fun. So I've got all this stuff to refit. It's all trim, the rear springs. Got the rear new suspension arms. I think I'll fit these today just because I can. Excuse me. Hungry. But all this lot just needs sorting out. I can fit the rear springs, the rear shocks, top turret mount, so I'm going to do that. So I don't care. I'm going to do that. I've ordered all the I-tensile bolts to hold this lot together. So I'll get you on a tripod and we'll start doing some work for a change. Right, that's everything laid out. I'm not going to get the inner arms on yet because I've got to put bushes in and then paint them yet, so this will just be a case of getting all the springs and shocks and everything. I can then mount the rest of it up and over on top of it. It might not be the easiest way of doing it, but it's fine. I've repainted the end bushes mountings. They're not bad, they're not worn out, so not going to replace things for the sake of it. These were, in a previous video, these were modified because the rubber, sorry, the 120 is swing axle, and it has a rubber block between this half and this half to dampen the axle vibration and the axle noise. These don't have that. With the 130, it's a different setup. You haven't got the direct drive from the gearbox. So what they have is slightly different ones that are welded together, or one piece like this. I couldn't find any, so I took the rubber out, which gave it about 15-20mm different clearance, and then welded them back together so that they are effectively 130 ones. Stiffer lower springs, new shocks, which I'm going to prime in a minute, and the new arms. Same for the other side. I think I've got everything I need, and we'll get on with putting stuff together. Put a bucket underneath it to catch the coolant, because otherwise I'm going to be laying in it. So I'll have to drain that later and get some more hoses. Now, you will be limited to what you can see, but there's ways of doing this, and I've got to think in my head which way around it needs to be. Let's try and move the camera so you can see a bit. Not too much, there you go. Right, because normally you'd have your spring and your top mount and shock and everything all mounted up inside the car. You then have to this will stay in place on the arm. Just put it all together so you can see. It'll all sit like that underneath in the car. Then what you can do with this still in place, support the bottom end and feed the shocks up through underneath. Now, top end is a bit awkward inside. I don't need to do that, because all I need to do is this bolts to the car by 2 bolts. So if I feed this up through the inside and afterwards, I may as well bolt that to there now, drop it down and bolt this in, and then put the spring over it. So this is the top mounts out of the way. So I'm going to do that first. When you get new shocks, you prime them. Yeah. And basically a couple of times up and down, just to expel any air that's from transport, because they're usually stored laying down, so it's easier to do it now. They all come with new bushes and everything else. I've done exactly the same on the front, it's the same make, and it should make a massive difference to how it handles. In lower, stiffer, and all new. Because it was all running on the original stuff before, it wasn't great. It was okay, it worked. It was just a bit softly sprung for what the car is. So basically, do them up tight as they go, and I'll probably pull this down, and then you can get that over the spring once it is in the spring seat, and it's all fits together nice. So what I'll do to start with, I'll bolt these up inside, as I say. That's how it goes. That'll have to get jacked up to compress the spring slightly, and then there's a lower mounting, and then it all bolts together. So that's now done. That's the easy bit. I can then just get this in place now. Just move these out of the way for a minute. If I remember rightly, I think the bolts are still up in here. Yes, they are. It's that long since I took it apart, I forget what I'd do, what I've done and what I've not done. Oh, don't start raining. There you go, straight away, prime example, because I laid it down. It all went a bit soft. There you go. Should be able to get these in easy enough with a shock in place. Doesn't make much difference. Just can't see. It's starting to rain now. Thanks a lot. Yeah, okay, it might be a bit more awkward than I thought. That one lines up, so does that. So if I can get that bolt started. There we go, we're in. So, let's tighten these up. Or undo it and then take the bolt out because you knocked the gun into the wrong direction. Excellent. Right. Next one to go in will be, that is on top of, don't chucking it down, don't rain on my head. Feel front mounting. I'm not going to tighten it up until it's all back together. Everything else will be fine. Just this one because the pivot that it goes through. Because it goes through quite a decent pivot, it needs to be tightened up on the ground once it's seated. Let's get it sort of like in. Now it's raining properly. Dripping on my head, man. I'll do this from behind that way. It takes the it'll take the angle up all right. All I need to do, top collar, try not to, top rubber mount over the shock, which I'll probably, yeah, it's all. That's it, it's there, pull the shock back down again. Need 2 sets of hands or more. Yeah, it's all a bit juggly, but if I can get these in place, right, that's seated properly. Okie dokie, right, and here we go again. Get the shock roughly where you need it. And then the bottom mounts, which are not here. You get the bottom mount there, goes over that, and then you get your bushy bit, it's just the wrong way around. Because once these are in place, I can then take the jack out. If I tighten those up, then I can do the bottom nut when it's down. Using nylox on all these just so that they don't come loose. The old ones have spring washers and stuff on, but can't get in with that one. They all have spring washers, but nylox will stay put longer and more reliably. Because they're basically stiff nut all the way through, they're not loose at all. They can't come loose. And for the cost of things, it's it's not worth using the old stuff. Right, I'll let this down now. It's not quite seated properly, but I can get a better angle of it. There you go, that's better. Need to do now is I shall jack up under the centre of it at the back, and that'll lift it high enough to get the shock mount tight. And that way it's going across evenly. Bit of a faff about this, but it's fine. And then we go back to the 14. Hopefully we'll get the gun in. The elusive arms that I couldn't get anywhere. And now, that's tight enough, starting to go in place. I'll do the other side. Not sure what else I can get done today. At least it's stopped raining now. I'll go and do the other side, and then we're getting somewhere. Right, that's that side on as well. A bit less of a faff this side because I got the top bolts in a little bit easier. Yeah, they're all up there. I don't know if you actually see anything. Not doubtful. Yeah, they're bolted into the top of the car, and then if I can see, top shock mounts are there, so it's easier to put it together off the car than fight through that hole. But they're good, they're tight, means all this can go back in now. I need to get the semi-trailing arms cleaned up and painted, reassemble all the brakes. I can do all that whilst it's off, and then they'll basically hook up and over, sit here. There's a spacer block and things go between, and the clamp bolts. I've ordered all those. All high tensile bolts are stronger for that clamp one and for the ones that go up through to clamp the two halves together. Obviously then all the rear alignment will be out because this can pretty much be wherever it wants. Cross member, I've got new bushes to put in the arms. I can do them today. Yeah, I've ordered the fuel pipe, and I've ordered the new T-piece that I broke for the fuel lines to go under there, as I said earlier. Get all that positioned with the cross member on. I can make sure it's not going to catch, whereas when I changed it from the 120 to the 130, it was all designed in loose inverted commas, put together for the 120, which the 130 gearbox and cross member and suspension arms are completely different, so it was all in the way and fouling it all, and because it was just stuck together rock hard, I couldn't actually move it to reposition it. But the yeah, that's a bit of progress at last. I've had them arms a few months now. I've had the shocks 6 or 8 months, and I tried to find a place to buy them and get some decent arms for about a year. Yeah, all the brakes I had were okay. I bought wheel cylinder rebuild kits because while they're off, the kits weren't expensive in Germany anyway, so I bought those, rebuild them, clean all the bores out, rebuild them. I'm trying to measure up for braided hoses. I've emailed a couple of places for dimensions and fittings, whether they've got single flare or double flare in the end. So hopefully they'll get back to us soon. If we get those, it's only really sort the front brakes out. Last bits of assembly. Seats. I've got various bits of metal to make subframes. What I need to do is, that there is now like a biscuit tin. There's no strength in that at all. That needs to have strength put back in, and the seats can't just bolt to this, they have to bolt to a frame. But that needs to go to the tunnel, and also needs to go onto this ledge here, because that one is just the floor. Originally, the plan was 2 strips. Excuse me. 2 strips there, and then a cross brace between the two. But even this here still moves the floor. So even with this sort of that type of thing, with it bolted to the floor, it still wouldn't have been strong enough. All this is something solid to mount the seats to, and also to rigidize, it's a big word, the floor. I've just got bits of odd metal and things I can make things out of as I go. There'll probably be plates there, obviously not anywhere near as big that, to the inside of the tunnel on both there and there. Prior planning mix. Prior planning would be a good idea. Sorry if you've got headphones on, because that would have been loud. So yeah, these will be cut down, then bolted through for extra strength to support these and the floor. Same at this side. This is where I get the problem. Sorry again. Because the floor is lower than that. So to get up here, I'm going to need to step this up. Now this is inch box section. That lifts the seats, the original, that lifts the seats of an inch off the floor, because they were too low originally, so that's fine. Now if I start going up to here and then putting a stiffening plate in to weld to here as well and bolt in, or however it decides to go, then again that's going to make this more solid. Press on this half here, which is good. That's where the inner and outer, the floor and the outer sill and everything join together. That's a strong point. So ideally I need to mount from that. I can get to the underside of it to go through it and put bolts through. I'd rather not, but I think I'm going to have to, because I can then weld it to the side here, build a plate, bolt that through into here. This will then be bolted to the floor to get this wobbly bit out. And I'm waffling quite a lot, but I haven't quite decided how I'm doing it yet. This is all a bit of a work in progress, and keep chopping up bits of metal and seeing how it'll fit, testing the seat height, putting the seat back in, obviously, sitting in it. Does it feel right? Does it go far enough back? Does it hit the seat belt? Because that's in the way. If you go too far back, it hits it. But if you go too far forward, then you're restricted for your knees. You can't sit comfortably with your knees. I'm about normal sort of height, 5'10"-ish, 5'11", whatever. Yeah, 5'10". And if you've got a seat all the way back and that's as comfortable as you're going to be, that'll do. But anybody that's taller than that, it's not likely to happen, but anybody that's taller gets in, it might need a bit more space for them. Throttle pedal, I'll show you that. So, go around here. As I said earlier, because there's more travel on the throttle pedal than there is on the carburetor, I've had to put yeah, I can't even see it. Try and see it there. That bolt there, there's the original stop here, which hits the carpet. That's just a tiny bit of free play in it, just to get the cables not tight. But that's adjustable, so that it hits the end of here, so when it's all the way down, it hits the floor, you're not overstretching the cable and risking pulling the mounting off that's inside the tunnel. So that's dead stop. No matter how hard you press it, you're never going to cause any damage. And that now gives you full travel on the carburetor right to the end. There's no issues with that. You haven't got that laggy bit of, because you've got a bit of free play there, which you need, just because that's actually in that linkage. But then you've got, as soon as you press it, you're pulling the carb. You haven't got that big lag, because if you haven't got it hit at the back to stop it going there, you're going to have it at the front, which is what it happened before, and you've got a big lag on the throttle. You're about there before you got anything, so now it's a little bit less, so you can sit back a bit further. Then obviously your pedals, the position of them is determined how it feels, and they're fixed, so you need to make the seat fit you for the height of the steering wheel and get it in a position where it's right and it feels right, because there'll be nothing worse than building all this and it feels horrible and the steering wheel's too high, or it's just, nah, it's got to be right. So it's a bit of faffing around. I'm going to have a go at the subframes in a bit. I might go and sort out the back brakes and everything else and get a bit more video on this. Getting there. Still got to decide what I'm doing with the exhaust. I think for now I'm going to leave it as it is. Oh, I need to sort out this throttle thing. I'll dig the laptop out while it's not raining at the minute, and I'll test this sensor. So I'm almost certain you can read it. You can calibrate it as well. So I'm sure you can. It's a long time since I did anything with that. So the Canham's ECU that came with it, that I got, comes with a diagnostic and tuning software. So you plug into it and you can set things yourself. And that's what I'd got wrong in the first place on the first run, when it was overheating the exhaust manifold. It was down on power. It felt quick until I realised I'd got this setting wrong. So it's now it's correct, and it goes like hell. Right, I've just plugged in and we'll have a look. The wire on the throttle position sensor is all right now. I've plugged it in and pushed the pin back in. So if you watch this one here, that should go around from 0 to 100%. So I operate the throttle now manually. So that's showing that the throttle position is working, so the ECU knows how wide open the throttle is or not. So that's working okay. If I wiggle the wiring around a bit, that loosens that pin up, and then what happens? Ironically, still works. So the issue wasn't that. So, right, I'm not that good with this. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to mess with stuff. But that's your primary ignition map. And when I was having a look a minute ago, because I've just go for the secondary one. Now this one hasn't been programmed, it hasn't been set. But if you look at the numbers in that, if you know what you're looking at, that's horrendous, because your ignition timing is going from 17 to 254 degrees advanced. And it's jumping all over the place, everywhere, because it's not been set. I'm wondering whether it reverted back to that, because at 3,500 is where it was going wrong. So it was just all of a sudden here, 3,500 revs, it was jumping from no advance to 100 degrees to 230 to 250 degrees. So that'll be pulling your ignition all over, like in completely the wrong place. So I'm wondering whether it somehow managed to set itself and firing on the wrong map. I don't know. Diagnostics, crank sensor check. Right, okay, is this live or is it? I'll go and see if it'll start, see what it does, because I've not really used any of this much. Right, so if I fetch your information now, seems to be working. You can shut up. Doesn't mean an awful lot to me, but it's working. Is that right? I don't know. I just did this calibrated throttle position sensor anyway before, just to check, because right, I'll just have a look at that, see what it does. So it should in theory sound a little bit better now. It's not dying at 3,500 where it was. Still a bit lazy getting back to idle, but that's not firing on doing all things wrong anymore. What I need to do somewhere though is file, save calibrations. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. saved that, and I've now got a file for that, so hopefully that'll stay put. What I need to do really, because I've had it's all changed now, because the cams of everything have been changed, so it may need a little bit of a tweak on the rollers, but I can't do that. That's actually revving properly now. Yeah, out of interest, I wish there's a way of knowing if it was on the wrong map or what, because I haven't actually changed anything. All I've done is, well, I've re-inputted this data. I've had to re-input every single one of these lines, every single one of these boxes, because I clicked a box by accident when it said, oh, I don't know where it is. There was one that said copy. Oh yeah, copy maps primary to secondary. But the secondary one was the one that was wrong. So when I did that, all I did is copied the secondary to primary and made everything go wrong. And I had two maps that were completely useless. So realistically now, that might actually be it. I don't want to mess too much because I don't know what I need to do with this. TPS sensor, 2D mapping. No, I don't need that. It's not switchable. Enter switchable crank trigger pattern. No, secondary. So it can only have been used in the primary map because it's only set for the primary settings. So we'll save that. So I don't understand what was actually wrong with it. But at the moment, it seems to be working fine. I'll probably get it set on the rolling road anyway, and then right, okay, so other than the rattly rear panel, that's running better than it was. A lot better than it was. It might just need a bit of a tweak. Oh, I can hear the fuel pump running dry now because it's going to stop soon, but at least it doesn't seem as sooty as it used to be either. Yeah, the fuel pump's running empty now, so we're going to run out of fuel soon. But let's just try my throttle pedal. I haven't tried that yet. Rev counter don't like the cut. That throttle's working well now. Well, I think that's all I can do for today because I'm just about out of fuel, and I'm hoping that the settings now will stay put, because if they don't, I don't know. I've clicked save before I exited. I'm not connected to ECU. Oh, that's got to turn the ignition off. Oh well, I think that'll do. Because I just spent a long time re-inputting all the info. Because I don't know what I'm doing and I messed it up. I might need a trip back to Bob Brothers to get it done properly again. because they know the ECUs and settings inside out. So I think that'll do for today on the messing about with computers front. One thing I was going to do is these rear arms. I cleaned up the ends. The rest of them, they need a good clean up, wire brushing on a flat wheel or whatever. Just get them all sorted out. But I cleaned up the ends and zinc primed them. I'm going to push the bushes into those. I dug out the press earlier, so I'm going to do that now. Once they're in, I'm going to call it a day. So hopefully this video has worked out okay. Right, last bit for the day. I'm going to put the press these bushes in. So to start with, just need to make sure that goes, the centre of this will go through that hole in the middle. Because otherwise, when you crush it, because if you press it on there, it'll press on both sides, it'll go squash it a bit. But if I press it on the wrong bit, I'll end up ruining it. So, try and get this level and balanced whilst jacking the handle. In theory, that'll centralise, the bush below will centralise. Sorry, the arm below will centralise. In fact, I'm just going to do it on a flat bit to start with. So I've got one shot at these because these came from Germany. Right, that's taken up the slack. There we go. And there goes the other one. Right, that's nearly through, so what I'll do now, just move it over, back under the so that the hole goes through the hole in the centre. And that way, all being well, it won't damage it. Bit of tell because it goes solid. Right, that's gone solid. That's like 2 ton of pressure, doesn't need a lot. Stuck in my pocket. There you go. Easy as that. You can do it with a vise if you don't have a press. Not as easy and a bit more brutal. Where did the bush go? There it is. Now the inside, I'll grease the inside of the inside of this, so the bush goes through these nice and easy. And get it something like it'll then centralise itself and go flat. And then again, let's move it over so that that's under centre. It just means then I can not squish anything. Right, that's gone tight, which means I'm not over the hole. It always works the first time, doesn't it? There you go, that should be fine. Yeah, that's not caught the edge of it either. It's managed to do it properly, so there's the other one in. All I'll do now, give these a damn good clean up, get them painted. And then once I painted and get them fitted, I was going to build up all the brakes and everything today, but it's just taking too long. My fingers are freezing cold. And I got mewed up because it's cold. But no, it's not been a bad day. So thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And all being well, next time we'll be getting the arms on, getting the suspension on, because by that time parts will have arrived. And then I can actually get some back brakes on. No, that'll do for me. As I say, like, comment, subscribe. And all being well, next video we'll have some more progress. Thanks very much for watching. See you again. Cheers.